Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Maria. I work at Bybit, and I will be your host today. To start, let me introduce you to Cesare Marco. He's a legal expert in Web3, and he works in Namirial SPA. The talk he will give us this morning is about how the legally compliant crypto future is already here. Please give a warm welcome to Cesare Marco.
Thank you all. Good morning, I'm Cesare Marzo. I work for Namirial as a compliance specialist, lawyer, research and development analyst, as you can see from my first slide. And in this picture, I was on a business trip in Brussels, where I go every now and then to, discover the latest updates on European policies about not only blockchain, not only crypto, but also many other things that have to do with the digital sphere in Europe and beyond. So let's start my presentation. My presentation will be about the story of Luca. Who's Luca? Basically, Luca is a guy who wants to tokenize some assets, and he wants to do it just because he doesn't have all the capital that he needs to achieve his dreams. So what's the main problem that Luca will have to face when it comes to raising capital from tokenized assets? Basically, it's trust. It's the fact that no one trusts someone who doesn't have, a corporate organization behind, someone who is not known in the industry. He just would have to need some reputation around his personality, and then he would be able to raise this capital. But since he just started with this decentralized dream, trust is the main problem he has, and he has to deal with. And what we do at Namirial is exactly that. We build trust on top of the digital services that we provide and that other builders provide. So let's meet Luca. Luca is this kind and smart guy holding the Ether token in his left hand. He's a 30 years old guy living in southern Italy with a lot of interests such as music, old apartments that he inherited and he wants to renovate, but doesn't have capital to do it. So he needs to tokenize these assets to raise capital and to achieve his dreams. But he wants to do it without selling his soul to C's, which is why he needs to build trust around his personality, and he wants to keep control of his artwork. So he starts thinking, what if I could turn my home into tokens that fund its renovation and my art into NFTs that share future revenues with early supporters, which is something that, in the art ecosystem always happens. There is a new artist who wants to raise capital to support his own growth. And so they start tokenizing the future, the right to have a share of the future revenues coming from these NFTs and from the art that they are making. And so he thinks maybe I should start issuing security tokens for my apartment and NFTs for my songs and for my artworks. But what's the first problem? That Luca is just a person, he has no company behind him, no lawyer supporting him, and no guarantees. So as soon as he starts proposing his tokens to potential investors, the main problems and the main concerns that these investors raise are, but where is the real legal protection when we buy these tokens with these tokenized portions of the artwork of Luca or tokenized portions of the apartment? What if Spotify deletes these songs? What if the house does not even exist? We should trust the fact that Luca is actually the owner of this apartment. And here comes the compliance part. The compliance is about unlocking trust and not only putting useless rules over the builders and over the developers. Actually, the European regulations, that is something that we work with a lot, are the legal trust layer. This means basically that once Luca starts deploying his smart contracts, he can do this on a decentralized blockchain that is the place where all the business logic will be running, but he needs that this business logic, every single step encoded in this business logic has legal value. And so he needs to unlock an identity layer that is governed and recognized by the European rules. Because we're in Europe, Luca lives in southern Italy, and therefore he needs to abide by European regulations. And we do it at Namirial by leveraging the possibility offered by EIDAS. EIDAS actually tells us that whenever Luca authenticates himself against like a system, Luca's identity is verifiable, his signature about the existence of the artwork, about the contract he's going to sign with potential investors, about the existence of the house itself, is legally binding. It means that Luca is responsible for what he's stating and for what he's uploading onto the blockchain. And so the tokenized assets origin is authentic and auditable. We have this guarantee, and we have it because we are leveraging the potential of this European regulation called EIDAS, which works as the identity layer for Luca's infrastructure. So what do we have when we use EIDAS? We have basically trust as a service. So we have, first of all, Luca can prove that he's really Luca. So Luca exists, Luca has a verified identity, and Luca is using the system himself. Luca can sign smart contracts. So these smart contracts, whenever they're linked to Luca's identity, they're not just code. They are actually legally binding contracts and agreements signed with the investors with which Luca is offering actually legally protected rights. Then he can timestamp his creations, stating that at a certain point he performs some actions over the artwork or the house he wants to renovate. He can tokenize with legal certainty, so no one can dispute ownership. Launch offerings that the investors actually trust, because now we know that Luca exists, that the house exists, that the artwork he's tokenizing exists and won't be deleted until Luca or the potential investors want so. And maybe we can anchor all these pieces of code into what is called and what is defined by the regulations themselves as a qualified electronic ledger, which can become the new trust layer for Web3. So, qualified electronic ledger, this is a legally binding definition, is a legally recognized digital register provided by certified qualified trust service provider under EIDAS 2. And what's the benefit of using the qualified electronic ledger from a legal standpoint is that its contents, every statement, every signature uploaded onto the ledger is presumed to be legally valid. It means that whenever someone wants to challenge the statements contained in the ledger, claiming that they are not true, that whatever Luca is stating is false, the burden of the proof won't be on Luca. It will be on whoever is claiming that those statements are false. This is very important, and this is contained in this provision of law, that is Article 45 of the new version of the EIDAS regulation. EIDAS 2. So whenever we talk about centralized services and centralized systems in this industry, in the crypto industry, which is an industry that I love and that I started studying like many years ago by now, we are very, very concerned about privacy. So let's think of one of these potential investors, Paolo, one of Luca's early investors, who asks the question, if I use your system, does a third party know about my tokens? Because what every Web3 investor wants is actually privacy and not surveillance. They don't want to be surveilled or controlled by centralized authorities and so on. So, what's the guarantee that we have from EIDAS about privacy? It's that privacy is built in the code that Luca is deploying, and whenever Luca decides to deploy his smart contracts onto a qualified electronic ledger, these ledgers have to respect the privacy of whoever is building on top of them or whoever is using these ledgers. And these are all the regulations, legal norms or technical standards, which are even more important and even more complex to implement. And I'm telling this because we work with these standards a lot. It's a lot, like we spend a lot of time on understanding the actual content of these standards and then on implementing them into our solutions. And these are all the specifications and all the provisions of law that guarantee that whatever we do on the blockchain using this system will respect the privacy of the users and of the builders, of course. So, whenever we think this way that we can use even a centralized layer for digital identity that respects all those rules, and we think that this way we can have privacy and trust built in the code at the same time, we are giving actually Luca the possibility to show his legal identity, some trustworthy contracts, some transparent processes. As we saw, they have to be transparent in order to comply with all those regulations that I showed in the previous slide. Now we have confident investors who trust Luca, and who trust actually what he's stating and what he's signing on the blockchain and these smart contracts. They trust the fact that Luca's actual offline assets exist and are compliant with all the statements that Luca has uploaded onto the blockchain. And this way we can actually unlock a lot of potential that comes from the Web3 industry once we achieve this trust that we strive to provide through our services. My final statement here is that we have like a cultural background rooted on digital identity that is actually a good ground for the growth of the industry, of the Web3 industry, because actually the only little piece that we're missing, in my view, in this industry to make crypto actually work in real life is this identity layer. And we can become, I think, as Europe, as a continent, and as 27 member states, the hub for the growth of the Web3 industry, and we can help builders raise capital, tokenize assets with legal certainty, and build actually lasting investor relationships. And this is my final statement actually. Compliance isn't the death of decentralization. As we saw, like the business logic will still run on a decentralized blockchain if we want so. We are just adding a new layer which has to be centralized because traditionally it's always been decentralized. The identity layer has to be decentralized because whenever we are interacting with someone, regardless of offline or online, we have to be sure that we're actually talking with a real person that is claiming to be interacting with us. And therefore, by adding, even in a centralized fashion, this identity layer to the Web3 industry, I think that this is how we can make the Web3 ready for the real world, by building smart, building legally compliant, but building trustworthy. building trustworthy solution that actually attract investors. So we're doing it by providing our services in all these countries that you see here, in the 27 member states and also in other continents. For example, we have a huge presence in Southern America and in Asia also. We have as Namirial and as Namirial Group also offices in India. We provide solutions to the LATAM region massively, as I said. And if you're interested in building compliant solutions and in building solutions that would unlock an additional level of trust, please get in touch with me. Here are my contacts. We have a stand at the Zero Ground upstairs. And yeah, let's stay in touch because we'd love to listen from you to start building together and to add that identity layer to whoever is interested in achieving a greater degree of trust in their solutions. Thank you. Does anybody have a question?
Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, guys. Any questions on trust as a service? Okay, Cesare.
You have a question?
We have a question?
From
Okay.
the audience? It's not true?
Cesare, thank you so much for such a great presentation. And if anybody wants to get in contact with Cesare, he will be at the conference. You can reach out to him and ask any other questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. See you soon on our stage.